All right, hello everybody. My name is Dr. Cheryl Meyer, and today we're going to talk about how to never care about rejection again. All right. Now, I'm a psychologist in my day job, so I want to teach you guys as a psychologist and as a person, just a person coming alongside you. Rejection is in our collective. Okay, so Carl Jung talked about something, our collective consciousness. There's how the world is. Okay, so if the world has shifted to this place where they're more egotistical and they're more about propping up this empty egotism and building that up, then you're going to have a lot of insecurity, right? And so, lots of people and teachers these days are going to talk about shifting the consciousness and going to a higher state of consciousness. And of course, understanding your real worth will always help you shift out of this place of feeling rejected. But let's understand why people have this persistent feeling that follows them and what to do about it so that you never have to deal with this again. I want you to be able to just keep coming back to this video and watch it over and over again if you need to watch it, so you know how to address this, how to face rejection, so you don't stay there, because what you focus on grows. And so it's okay. So here's the paradox. Here's the only way to solve this is an asymmetrical way, is a way that's not your typical way. Because look, right? If okay, I'll just use my AirPods as an example. And I'm not selling anything. So I'm just saying, like, if I use this as an example, let's say I had this feeling of rejection from childhood. And I had in my mind, you know what? If I just had 100 of these, that units, I put a heart in mine, but just units of this, then I'm going to feel secure. And so what people do is they spend all of their time going to try to acquire something like this. And then they feel like, okay, then I can keep selling them. And then I have this constant state of flow of money or what. And I'm not saying don't take care of yourself. Like set, work diligently at what you do. Do what you do with excellence, right? I'm not saying don't provide for your family and stuff like that, right? But if I keep thinking I will get my worth, if this is like by having a new girlfriend, by having a new boyfriend, by having a new this, by having a trophy wife, by having a trophy car, whatever this represents, I was thinking just a few minutes ago, I was reflecting, I was like, if I lived in Egypt, right, back in the old days, and I had a Lamborghini in Egypt, and it's like, or a Ferrari, I made my video with the Ferrari the other day. That was hilarious how I ended up at this Ferrari factory. But if I had a Lamborghini in the middle of the desert, it wouldn't mean anything to them. It's not going to get around in the desert places. Like, they would see if I had 50 camels, I would be super wealthy in their understanding. But let's say I had no camels and I'm there, and people are going to look at me in a different class system. Are they going to reject me because I don't have camels? Understand how you're giving your worth away. And when I'm going and chasing after something like this, in order to try to prove my worth, I'm still insisting that I don't have worth because I'm working to prove that I'm not. And so there's this idea that what you focus on grows. Well, I'm focusing on trying to prove that I have worth, that I'm worth more than rejecting, right? It's kind of like, if we go back to the horrible ghosting experience that I once had in my life, right? That I'm not going to define my whole life by, but, I had one experience, and it's like, if I kept trying to chase the person who ghosted me and go, why don't you see my worth? Why don't you see my value? I don't understand, because I didn't understand. I was like, wait, what just happened? Like, I don't understand what happened. Like, I know my worth. What happened? But it's like, not everybody is going to understand and value and see your worth. I got this impression on my way here when I was driving. It's kind of like, I was feeling cold, so I just turned off the air conditioner because I wanted to. And so, and then I have a seat heater and I turned that on, and it's like the Holy Spirit, if you want to call it like that, God, my intuition was telling me in my heart, this is how people operate. It's not personal. It's not personal. All they're doing is, I'm hot, I'm going to turn this off. I'm cold, I want to turn the seat heater on. They just don't care. They're not thinking about you at all. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you at all. Okay. And so I was working with a client of mine, and it just burst open my heart, because when you're working with a child, right? And I don't want to say any part of this, his or her problems, right? But just your heart's so open, right? Because you care, and you're doing your very best as a psychologist, as whatever you're doing, to give them the tools, and to be present with them as they're learning the tools. And so if you think of a child, right, at a school being bullied, right, because there's lots of kids that are facing this, and it's just wanting to convey to them, this is kind of what inspired this video for all of us, because there's bullies in the grown-up world too, right? We can watch all of those Pretty in Pink type movies, John Hughes movies from the 80s, and see how the bullies are, and see, I like Some Kind of Wonderful. She's like, it's better to be on my own, than keep trying to please these people and be so shallow. You end up being so shallow because you're trying to fill up some hole, right, that you're noticing you have. This deep hole that you have by I just saw mattresses, throwing a bunch of mattresses in there, or matches, or fire, or these, do you know what I mean? Units of pods, even though they have a heart on them, right? It's like this, here's the answer. Just go back to your heart and now understand. And so this is what I teach children. If I happen to, I usually see adults, but sometimes I see kids and teenagers, but, is be really present with yourself. Okay, now this is not going to make sense to your mind. Your mind will not understand this. Your mind will say, why isn't she telling me how to make more money, how to get more jewels, how to build up my bank account, how to build up my muscles, right? So that I didn't get to flex that, but so that I look prettier in this world, so that I get the people to stop turn off the air conditioner just because they don't want it in that moment. You know what I mean? It's like, why would you want to be connected with someone who doesn't know your real value? That whole lesson taught me, how do I know my real value? Why am I letting people into my life? I don't know my value if I'm letting people, and now you can't read people's minds and everything. You can think that someone is trustworthy and then they do betray you, and you can't control that. That's understandable. But what do I not know about my value, that I'm giving my precious time to people who don't know my value, that I'm letting them in my life? No, I keep having this quote from Rumi show up for me. It's in my house, and I keep seeing it in different ways, that it says, be like, because I'm always looking at trees, right? Be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop. Let the dead leaves drop, okay? So this is one principle for how to not care at all, ever, anymore about people rejecting you, is understand, right? You understand, right? If there's this beautiful teenage girl or boy, young man or young woman, and there's people in a school bullying, does that have anything to do with this child, right? With this teen? So what I was going to teach you is, go for a second, and there's a dumpster outside of my work across the parking lot, and I'll sometimes point at the dumpster and I'll be like, look, if we walked out of here and we heard a baby crying from that dumpster, we wouldn't go, well, are you going to Harvard? Are you going to make $400,000, $1 million a year, blah, 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 whatever? Are you going to have a nice house? Are you from a nice class system? Do you know what I mean? Do you come from upper class? Do you speak with that British accent like this? Or do you speak like, I don't know. My friends were like, Charlie's on the phone. I was friends with this guy, Charlie Mackesy, back then. And they're like, Charlie's calling. And I couldn't tell the difference between their accent and Charlie's. Charlie went to fancy school, right? I won't say anything about him, but anyway, that was such a long time ago. Charlie's ringing. And so it's like, really, 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 okay? So one thing, okay, it's a bunch of things. One is, do not practice being, and that was part of my downfall too, was I just let people in because I see everybody as souls. Everybody is a soul that God created. We're all souls. And so I see everyone as like brothers and sisters, but we're meant to be as shrewd as a serpent and innocent as a dove. You know, that Christ said, I'm sending you out like sheep's among wolves. So there's wolves around, all right? So you want to be sharp. You want to, first, don't see people as in different class systems, right? So everybody is worthy of 100% of love. So let's go back to the baby. 2, remember this baby example, okay? If there's a baby in the dumpster, we go and we hold that baby, right? We make sure to clean the baby if it's all dirty. We make sure to get milk for that baby, you know, formula. It's like, or whatever, you know. I'm like nursing milk if you can. That's like even better for babies. 10 IQ points higher if they nurse is what I studied. But anyway, and so, and not just that, let's just give them, but we want them to have the very best. Okay, so it's like, and don't feel bad if you couldn't nurse. Like, I'm not trying to shame anybody. All right, so you're holding this baby. This baby is you. This baby is, remember, understand yourself in any part of childhood where you experience rejection from your parents. Why are these bullies? Let's go back to the teenager in school. Why are these bullies bullying people? Why would anyone who just go here again, okay? Remember yourself, know yourself and your essence. Who are you beyond your name, beyond your age, beyond your education, beyond whatever your job is, beyond your bank account, you know? Know yourself. Be present with yourself right now. Let's do this right now. I'll do it too with you. And your isness. You can come back to all the things you labeled yourself before, like, oh, well, I have pretty brown hair, so I have worth. It's like, no, know yourself just as, what if my head was shaved right now? What if I had no makeup on and, you know, nothing? You're just in your isness. You're a baby wrapped up in one blanket, you know, you've got nothing. You've got nothing. Now, is this baby, is this boy or girl, is this little infant worth loving, right? Ask yourself that. Drop down from your head into your heart and ask yourself that. Is it worth the fullness of love? I always say to my clients, 100% of love, 100% of the time. You are always worth that. But I can't just tell you that. It's important that you shift into this place of going, is it true? Is it true that, you know, because I was squirmy as a little child that I ought to have been rejected? Or that because I made my dad mad all the time, you know, did I make him mad? You know, for me, it's like bringing up my dad's insecurities. He was awkward, like didn't know how to love me because he kept looking for his own worth. Because he said his dad, you know, when he wrote his first book, you know, I always heard this story, like his dad would say, well, this guy, James Rice, someone, I don't know, wrote 100 books. You know, now my dad has written 100 books, you know, and I wish him love, you know, I wish him love. I hope he knows love in his life. And so it's like, but did it take my dad, into his 70s to go write all those books, to know that his worth does not come from that? How long do you want to keep running on your treadmill? You know, if you're a musician, it's like, how many songs until you know your worth? Or just songs to express love, to give love to people, because the world is in need of a lot of love. And so you're just a vessel that love gets to flow through. You know, why do you think I publish these books I have published books, but these songs where I'm singing like just not very well and playing the guitar like ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And it's like, because I just trust that love is flowing through me to you, right? And I just want you to know love in that moment from an imperfect person who doesn't know how to play or sing very well compared to other like magnificent singers. It's just, no, I'm here to convey love. That's it. That's it. That's all I'm doing today. I'm here to convey love, right? And if I was so caught up in, but I need to go be making more money for my kids and for my bank account and all this stuff and you know, whatever, you know, it's like, if I had those ends in mind, you would never get this video. This video would never be made, right? Because this video, all my videos are made from heart. I've made zero money, zero money still from any of my social media. None of it. I've made zero money from it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It matters about understanding, like, you are worth this message coming to you. I don't want you to have the excuse, I never could afford a psychologist, or I never knew where to look for one, or I never knew what those skills could do in my life. This is what they can do in your life. Understand yourself in your isness. The same creator created you, created me, created Elvis Presley, right? Elvis just like had a vision and had a passion for music and started learning how to create good music and put feeling into his music. And he had the feeling and he had experiences and he was charismatic and whatever else, you know, and then people wanted to use him and keep him hopped up on drugs so they could make money off of him as well, right? And have him sign contracts that gave all of them money. So check yourself before you wreck yourself, you know, ask yourself what path you want to go on and why you're going on that path. You have gifts and talents. God didn't make, my friend Elliot Smith had that in his song. He said, God, it's an old quote, but he said, God don't make no junk, but it's plain to see he still made me. Right? And it's like, stop thinking of yourself in terms of how other people defined you. Oh, they don't have any camels. Who cares? Look, this is the thing, is we take on shame in the collective around us. We take on shame from our parents. Like my dad had a lot of shame from feeling rejected all the time from his dad. Well, my grandfather felt a lot of shame from never being perfect enough for his dad, right? Where is that going to stop? It's called generational curses. Where are you going to take that shame? And you don't have to be a Christian. I'm not saying everyone has to be a Christian, but I'm saying I'm not going to leave out Christ, you know, just because people don't understand what I'm talking about. But it's like, here's someone who took our shame and died with it, took it into the grave, defeated death and resurrected, right? So when are we going to know that? When are we going to know that? Those aren't just words that people say in a church, you know? I use this, you know, universally too, to understand, always be connected to the transcendent realm, the realm that's beyond us. That's what we connected into when we look at that baby as a soul, when we see you as a soul, right? It's because you are one. That is a truth. Whatever religion you are, it's a truth. You can understand that. And so this is love for one another, right? Like Christ's arms wide out on the cross. He took our shame. By his wounds, we are healed. Understand what that is. If you know more what that is than I do, explain it. Explain it to all of us in the comments so that we can understand. Because sometimes I really get it, and then sometimes it goes out of my mind again, you know. But I sit every day, and I just sit there, and I'm like, here I am, God, and I take some time out, and I'm just sitting with a verse, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, what's my real worth? What's my real worth? Because if you keep absorbing and taking in because you thought, this is what a good girl does, this is what a good boy does, carry all my shame, what happens is we go to addictions to try to numb out that shame, like stuff ourselves with food or get high on drugs or alcohol or whatever to try to block out that shame. We're still running from the shame. The shame is still there. It's still there. We're carrying it. We're trying to run from it this way, run from it that way, hide from it this way. It's like, no, you know, I was thinking this morning, I was like, some people said, you know, you have to feel something to heal it. You have to feel it to heal it. That doesn't mean keep feeling the shame and taking it all on for the whole world. You know, it was convenient. It's like if your parents just said, hey, go get me a 22-pack of beer, right? It's like, of course, they like you in the moment when you bring it to them. And so You're just satisfying someone momentarily when you take on all their shame. When you say, like, I use this example. I used to say, oh, it's because I'm overweight, that's why people are rejecting me. And then I lost all of that. And then it's like, well, now what? And it's like, oh, people are like, oh, it's because I don't have this much money in my bank account. Well, you have that. Now why? Why are you carrying the shame? It's because you're used to carrying the shame. Stop carrying the world's shame. Give that to Christ. Ask God. It's like the first step in AA is I came to believe a power greater than myself. Why not try that? Why not ask God? Just ask the Creator honestly. Hey, what can I do with this shame? Because I'm sick. I'm sick and tired of trying to run from it, trying to prove that I'm not this shame. You're not the shame. You're not. Is that child that I was working with that teenager, are they worth people bullying them? I won't say how. Are they worth that? Or are they worth protecting and cherishing and knowing and loving and being able to thrive in their school and participate in listening and learning and the activities and all of that stuff? The child, the bullies that are picking on someone else, that's because they don't know their own worth. And if we get caught up in that not the yin and yang, the tit for tat, you provoke me and I'll give you this energy and react, and we'll keep just escalating and you're just in reactions all the time. You spend your whole life trying to prove to people that don't know their worth what your worth is. Like, let's stop doing that, right? Or we watch TV all the time because we're like just numbing ourselves out, trying to watch other people gain their worth and lose their worth. Now, I understand, I listened to The Hobbit and I learned so much from the heroism that's portrayed in that. Like, really, but someone said don't consume more than you're putting out, than you're living, I could do escapism, even in Tolkien, even in The Hobbit, right? And so know yourself and your isness. Know that you're always worth 100% of love all the time. Look at how you're withholding love, because you're like, if you measure up, if you jump through this hoop, then I'll give you love. You're doing that to yourself. Jesus said, while you were yet sinners, like it says, while you were yet sinners, Christ died for you. Christ wanted to reconcile you with a perfect God as you are before you fixed all of this stuff. So that's what I was saying about crying. I just was like, I feel so much more alive because I've just keep giving God all my sadness, all of the rejection that I felt so many times over and over again. And just I'm like, how many tears can I cry until it's all gone? But I trust that it's being cleaned out of me. All right. So I give that to you. Make time to just be present with the Creator and bring all of this stuff and be honest and stop withholding love from yourself and others. All right. Much love.